Let's go, guys. One more time. I want to talk about the Browns and the New York Jets, the two dumpster fires, the two pieces of shit teams in the NFL. And I'll tell you what, y'all. I'll tell you all this. Adam Gase, what does he have to do to be fired? I mean, this guy went to Miami. They're trying to lose games to tank for Tua Tagovailoa, and he got absolutely embarrassed. Jamal Adams hates Adam Gase. His players won't even sit next to him. He treated Osemele like a pile of dirt. He's been an embarrassment. And the New York Jets, Adam Gase is to the point of no return. He's not a good coach. He sucked in Miami. I told you guys when you hired Adam Gase, you were making a horrible decision. And even most of the fans and the public agreed with the outrage that they were giving the Jets. Just because Sam Darnold likes him. And what has Darnold even done in his career? Why does Darnold deserve all the praise that Darnold gets? Why does everybody think Darnold is a shoo-in to be a franchise quarterback? How come everybody is ready to write the death of Baker Mayfield and everybody's ready to step up and say Baker Mayfield is dead, Baker Mayfield sucks, Baker's done, when Sam Darnold hasn't done remotely what Baker Mayfield has done ever in his life? Sam Darnold won one Rose Bowl game over James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions. That's all he's done in his career. Baker Mayfield Heisman Trophy, one of the highest rated QBRs in college football history, one of the greatest college quarterbacks in the history of college football. Baker Mayfield goes to a dumpster fire of a franchise, one with a coach that's won one game in 35 games, and he turns around that franchise last year and makes them into a respectable destination for free agents and people to go. Baker Mayfield then is struggling this year. But that's what happens when you're a second-year quarterback in the NFL on your second head coach. And that's what Baker Mayfield is. He's on his second head coach. And the defense is taught by Steve Wilks. And he has John Dorsey, who's bringing in players with no character. He's bringing in players who have no intellect or have no ability to think and act like professionals. Their professional intellect is absolutely embarrassing. They had a player, a safety named Whitehead, or a cornerback, and he was threatening violence on local reporters that were criticizing him for missing tackles. People that were just watching the game on Twitter, he was out there on his own social media page. He was out there making violent claims. Completely and totally reprehensible, despicable actions by Mr. Whitehead. But that is the type of player, the type of person that John Dorsey covets. He'll take talent, and he doesn't require any psychological analysis on how a team will work together. He has no foresight into how personalities will gel. And that was the death of the Cleveland Browns. And Baker Mayfield went out. He got married to his super hot wife during the offseason. Baker Mayfield's wife is really hot, really attractive. That's not breaking news. But then Baker Mayfield went out there. He did 5 straight commercials. And what Baker Mayfield did in the offseason, he took a victory tour. And he's a young, immature, 24-year-old kid who hasn't been through the failures. He hasn't failed at any point in his life. He was dominant at Lake Travis High School winning championships. He was good at Texas Tech. And he went into Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley. He took that team to another level. He's an elite level quarterback. And in the NFL last year, what he did with a team that was already mathematically eliminated, he went to Denver and won. Who goes to Denver and win games? It's a tough place to win games. He beat Cam Newton heads up. He beat Matt Ryan. He dominated the NFC South last year. He stood pat with Patrick Mahomes. He played really well, competing with Mahomes. He took down Sam Darnold in only his third game as an NFL quarterback. He elevated those players around him, and he became inches of beating the Ravens in the final game of the year. He was in position to win that game, and he had a couple of throws that he wishes he had back, but he was ready to win that game. And then what John Dorsey did is John Dorsey went and he added an Odell Beckham Jr., who's a very impatient guy, who wants all the stats, who wants all the records, who wants everything to himself. Then Baker Mayfield took a victory tour when they haven't won anything. But that's just the trials and tribulations of a young quarterback. And Browns fans need to be patient. You need to stick with Freddie Kitchens. You need to stick with Baker Mayfield as your franchise quarterback. Because you know what your problem has been in Cleveland? Your problem has been impulsiveness. You moved on Bill Belichick. You moved on Brandon Weed and Brady Quinn. You didn't allow coaches or quarterbacks to settle in. Listen to what Derek Carr said yesterday. Derek Carr said year one, and I'm paraphrasing, he said year one, we were not on the same page, me and John Gruden. We were not good. We needed reps. We needed time together. We needed time, chemistry. We needed the playbook. We needed repetition, reps. We needed practice, and we needed to gel. Me and Coach Gruden, me and my teammates. We needed to work on timing. We needed to work on execution for 24 months before you could even see the fruits of our labor. That's what Derek Carr said yesterday. And now you're seeing, and I made this mistake, I thought Derek Carr just sucked as a quarterback. I thought Derek Carr was just a failure as an NFL quarterback at this stage in his career. He had one good year under Jack Del Rio, and I thought that Gruden was out on Derek Carr. I wrote their death warrant against the Minnesota Vikings. But you know what happened? Derek Carr got more time with John Gruden, and now they're hitting on all cylinders after 4 successful weeks. Now they're starting to click, and they're starting to get it. Are you ready to run out another coach? The problem here is Odell Beckham and the microscope, the media. That's the problem with Baker Mayfield. He now has Odell Beckham Jr. He has all these cameras in his face. Part of it's his problem. Part of it is him spouting off to the media, insulting a Daniel Jones, and not showing etiquette to other quarterbacks in the NFL. Going on tirades, doing GQ articles. Baker Mayfield needs to lay low. Successful teams and franchises like the Colts and the 49ers, they lay low. Deshaun Watson, is he out spouting stuff? Is he out proclaiming they're going to be great? Is Russell Wilson doing that? Is Tom Brady doing that? Is Breeze? No. And Baker Mayfield will learn that, and Baker Mayfield will adjust and be successful because he does have a great arm. He is unbelievable at reading defenses. He's very quick. He's mobile. He's an awesome quarterback. I'm not ready to jump off of Baker Mayfield being a good quarterback because I told you last year in the draft that Baker Mayfield was a sensational, going to be a great quarterback. And he was last year. So just because he's hit a little hurdle, just because he's had 5 or 6 games that could have gone either way, I'm not ready to write off Baker Mayfield and that take at all. Odell Beckham Jr. running around on the sidelines yesterday. The game's not over. You're down by 5. That's the problem with a Freddie Kitchens. You know, John Dorsey decided to give Freddie Kitchens the most volatile roster of players. And now everybody is watching Cleveland, and now everybody is analyzing how these guys are gelling together. Freddie Kitchens is a first-year coach. You got to let him grow, but let him grow with homegrown talent. They're out there just slinging it around. You know, John Dorsey wants to take shortcuts to be great. He thinks this is fantasy football. Oh, let's bring in a Greedy Williams. Let's bring in Odell. Let's bring in a Kareem Hunt. Let's bring in a David Njoku and Nick Chubb. And we're going to be unstoppable because it's all fantasy football. It's all Looney Tunes. Why do you think that's never worked? You know what works in the NFL? being patient and growing sustainably, homegrown teams are successful. The Colts, the 49ers. 49ers took their lumps the last couple of years, built for the drafts with a Nick Bosa, a Solomon Thomas, a Dre Greenlaw that's playing out of his mind, a Witherspoon, a guy in Tavarius Moore, a Matt Breida, a Deebo Samuel, and a George Kittle, and then they go out and they trade a second rounder for an unproven Jimmy Garoppolo. They then trade a fourth rounder for a veteran receiver, not an elite superstar diva receiver, but an elite but a good, solid, winning player. The Browns got all the flash. They have no substance at all, and that's John Dorsey. And it's just more evidence today that they had one of their defensive players going on Twitter in an embarrassing tirade. Freddie Kitchens and Mayfield, they can be good. They have potential to be awesome in this freaking league. Baker Mayfield is going to be good. He's going to play a long time. He's going to continue to see defenses. He will adapt and he will rise because he's a winner. And this is his first losing season in his whole freaking life. He's a winner, just like Kyler Murray's a winner. You could say Lincoln Riley made Baker Mayfield. You could say that Baker Mayfield's too small to play at this level. You could say that Baker Mayfield played all easy competitions in year one. Baker Mayfield played who he played, and he balled out in year one, and he's balled out every year that I've watched Baker Mayfield play. And Baker Mayfield's arm's gotten stronger. He's even good at moving in the pocket. Just because Derek Carr didn't have a good year one under John Gruden, I learned this, doesn't mean that he's going to fail in the future. And Baker Mayfield, I don't want there to be another head coach. If I were the Browns, I'd ship out Beckham and Landry. They're too worried about what shoes they're wearing. They're not worried about winning a game. They're worried about what cleats they are going to wear. And Baker Mayfield shouldn't get excused either. He's worrying about what facial hair he's going to be putting on for the press conference. So Mayfield needs time to grow up too. But Baker Mayfield, unlike Landry and Odell Beckham, Baker Mayfield's a guy who won a Heisman Trophy. He led Oklahoma to the playoff in 2 out of his 3 years. He had multiple come-from-behind victories. He beat a more talented Ohio State team. He beat the Bosa brother. He beat Nick Bosa. He beat Marshawn Lattimore. He went to the Horseshoe in Columbus and won. He is full of swagger. He is 3 times the quarterback that Sam Darnold is. He is twice the quarterback of Lamar Jackson and even Josh Allen. He is a big-time quarterback. I'm not selling my stock on Mayfield at all. But Odell Beckham and Landry, they don't win anything. They just burn bridges wherever they go, whether that's Miami or whether that's with the Giants. And Odell Beckham and Landry are not winning games. They're out there with their shoes. They're more worried about what cleats they can get suspended for. They're not conducive to winning. When have you ever seen a receiver that is a good possession wide receiver not wear the cleats that the team wears? Just distracting. I'm not saying Mayfield's having his best year because that would be lying to the audience. But to quit on Baker Mayfield in year 2 is so premature. There's so many people out there that were saying the Browns are going to be Super Bowl bound, that finally Odell Beckham can play with a quarterback that's capable of throwing deep. And the same people that went on and said the Browns are the shit, and finally Baker Mayfield is going to win an MVP, and the Browns are finally going to win it all, they're the first people to turn against Baker Mayfield. They're the first people to make fun of him, and they make fun of Freddie Kitchens, and they're like, yeah, we knew Kitchens sucked all along. We knew Freddie Kitchens sucked. Once you get Kitchens out, you're going to have a great team. They're the first people to throw Mayfield under the bus. There's no consistency. I'm consistent. I said Mayfield is a freaking beast quarterback. I said Sam Darnold sucked as a quarterback, that he wasn't an NFL guy, that he was terrible and sucked. I said that Adam Gase would suck. I said the Jets would be awful. I was consistent in that. In the preseason, I was like, holy shit, Sam Darnold's looking really good in this preseason. Am I going to get duped? But then the regular season came around and preseason was all smoke and mirrors, and my prediction was absolutely spot on about Adam Gase and about Sam Darnold. I'm not leaving this Baker Mayfield ship right now. I'm not leaving Freddie Kitchens right now. Freddie Kitchens was fantastic last year. It's about really the mindset of this team. When they failed on that fourth down, they quit. They let Phillip Lindsay go wildcat on them. They are the dream team. They are all talk and no walk, and that's the problem in Cleveland. That's the problem with what Dorsey inherited. That's the problem with this freaking Browns team. Entitled. Now, for Adam Gase and Sam Darnold, I would fire Adam Gase. I would look to draft Tua Tagovailoa, and I would bring in a Kellen Moore. Because Kellen Moore and Tua together, holy shit. Or how about you go up to Madison? How about you look at one of your own superstar players, one of your own consistent ones in Jim Leonard? Why don't you look at Jim Leonard, who's leading the #1 defense in college football? When you think of Wisconsin defense, you think discipline. You think toughness. You think togetherness. You think dependability. And that's what Jim Leonard is. He's a steady hand, and he'd be a really good coach for this Jets team because the Jets need some stability. You already burned your bridge with Matt Rule. But you need a guy that's not just an X's and O person. You can find guys that can draw plays, but being a head coach is about communicating with players. It's about being a nice guy. Look at the coaches that are good. Sean McVay. Sean McVay is a very enthusiastic and positive guy. John Gruden, the most positive guy you're going to see. He has fun with his players. He's one of the guys. Kyle Shanahan is young, has no ego whatsoever. Richard Sherman has a louder voice than Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan's a great guy, great person, a very selfless head coach. Matt LaFleur, relaxed, laid back, lets Aaron Rodgers decide. He lets Aaron Rodgers come up with collaboration. Matt LaFleur cares about the defense. He cares about taking inquiry. To be a great coach, you also have to be a great psychologist. You have to understand what your players are feeling and what they're feeling. And that's what the Jets and Adam Gase completely failed on, is Adam Gase is not a psychologist. He can't tell what people are feeling. He's in his own world like a robot. He's Mr. Adderall Gase. He's too busy drinking coffee every day. He's too busy shoveling coffee into his system and hurting his heart for the long future. The Jets need a coach. The Jets need a coach that can bring the fan base together, but can communicate with Jamal Adams, can get on the same page, can listen, can collaborate with the players, can learn about their tendencies, can take inquiry in their personal life so that when a player gets hurt, when a player gets injured, you go to the training room and ask Kelechi Osemele, how's your day going? Can I get you a drink of water? Can I get you some Gatorade? How are you doing? How's your family? How's the leg healing? Is your shoulder messed up? Let's see if we should get surgery for you. I don't want to see your career, God forbid, end on a surgery, on playing you. Let's see how you're doing. Step in, talk to your players, have medical updates. Don't just rely on the doctors. Take stock in their lives. And that's Adam Gase's biggest problem. He has a lot of problems. I think he's overrated as a football mind. I mean, you can't argue that. He had Peyton Manning there, but even Jim Caldwell and even the kid upstairs, even a second grader can be in Peyton Manning's offense and still be successful. But Adam Gase doesn't take any inquiry on people's lives. And that's why when Adam Gase is being a selfish prick, and there are multiple reports that he is, and when he's treating reporters poorly, when he's treating his own players very poorly, like Kelechi Osemele, like Jamal Adams, like these guys in the locker room, when he's treating his own team poorly, that's why nobody wanted to sit next to him on the bench yesterday. It's because it all comes back. And why would you want to bleed and possibly risk your health, which is what football is, a physical sport, for a guy that's been a complete dick, a complete prick? Why would you want to, I'm saying dick and prick a lot. Why would you want to play and fight for a guy like that? I would want to lose. I would be like, good, we lost to the freaking Dolphins. Now can we possibly get a decent human being? I'm sure Jamal Adams and Quinnen Williams and Clint and Mosley, I'm sure they're not asking for much. They just want a decent human being. They don't even need to have a good coach. Let's just have a guy that's like an all-right human being, possibly. They're probably praying for the days of Todd Bowles, who wasn't an overly loud motivator, who wasn't a spectacular guy with seeing what offenses would do. He wasn't even an elite defensive mind, but he was a guy that the players liked. He's a stand-up dude, a stand-up cat. Rex Ryan, stand up. Defense loved him. You literally hired a guy that the players can't even relate to, and that's the leader of your team. Christopher Johnson needs to fix this immediately. Time for the coaching search. Let Greg Williams have a crack at it. Look at what Greg did with Cleveland last year. He had a run at it. What are you waiting for? Adam Gase failed in Miami. He's not even like Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens, this is his first 7 games as a head coach. First 7 games. Adam Gase had 3 years in Miami. And look at Miami. He left them with total shit. The Jets, you've seen Miami last year. Their direction was horrible. And now their franchise, Brian Flores, has to clean up this mess. The guy Greer, Stephen Greer, or whatever his name is, the GM there has to clean up the mess. That's what Adam Gase left Miami with. And you went and you decided that this is the right guy for a future of success? Just admit you're wrong and move on. The Jets, you could change it. You can bring in a great quarterback. You can get a Chase Young. It's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's worse to be maybe the Lions, maybe the Jaguars, maybe these other franchises that are sitting in mediocrity. The Jets, it ain't that bad. It would have been even worse if y'all went 6-10. Adam Gase is coming back next year with Sam Darnold, and you're getting the 15th pick in the draft, and you're drafting a B plus or a B player instead of an A plus Chase Young or a freaking Grant Delpit or an elite level player. It's not that bad being a Jets fan. The Giants might even have it worse. They might even go out and beat the Cowboys tonight. Pat Shurmur might get to 7-9, 6-10, 5-11. Then guess what's going to happen? Shurmur will come back, and eventually the bottom will fall out on Shurmur. But the Giants will lose those years. You Jets fans get to take another crack at the dartboard. You could have your next Sean McVay. You can have a Matt LaFleur or Kyle Shanahan. You get to be creative. You can look at Steven Belichick. You can look at Leonard, at Jim Leonard. You have options now. You can look at Lincoln Riley. You can look at people and other coaches. You have some defensive talent. You guys are in not that bad of a position. This is a really good draft. Time for y'all to make a good decision. Only problem is Christopher Johnson continues to make wrong decisions. But listen, he's got to make it. This ain't working. This ain't working, so at least you're done, At least the nightmare is over. It's not that bad if you're a Jet fan. The nightmare is over. And y'all were completely right in your criticism. Nightmare over. Just scrap Adam Gase. It's 1 year. 1 year. It's not that bad. Guess what? Each year is a new year. Even Bill Belichick would tell you that each year is a new year. So I enjoyed making this video, guys. Let me know what you think about Baker Mayfield, the Browns, the Jets' directions, the 2 big dumpster fires in the NFL right now. Pretty crazy stuff, guys. What a freaking weekend in the NFL yesterday. What a game. What games, I should say. It was a lot of fun doing this video. It was. So thanks, guys, for listening.